and some extra health. Notice something different about my survival health bar. If you played the original Metroid, you'll recognize it. I now have the health from the original Metroid game. So let's take a look at how I did it. The magic is in this one command right here. So right here, I've got a single block, and it's a really big command, so I'll put it on the screen, but all you really have to do is a title command. So if I go title, and I specify myself and say action bar, we can actually put text up on the screen like so. If I go text colon something, it'll say something right there in the middle. And we can format it. So let's say we wanted to go color blue. Now it says it, but in blue. You can also add scoreboards in additional text fields like this. So if I were to put in, let's say we wanted a colon after something. If I want to put a scoreboard value in, I can go score like this. And if I put score in quotes, and instead of having quotes after it like I would for text, instead I'm going to put another object, and I'm going to put in this object it's going to have a name, which is going to be @p, and then that's also going to have an objective, which is a scoreboard value, and I'm going to give it one of energy, which is, so now you can see that we got colon 90 right there. And so you can see whenever that runs, that it shows me this value that I'm doing right here when I'm not on, or when I am on survival mode. And so I've added 4 scoreboard values that allow me to do this custom Metroid health. The first one is this energy value. So what we do is we go scoreboard, objectives, add, and then we give it a name, and I called mine energy. And then we call it a dummy. We don't want to do anything with it. I already made one by that name, but what we're going to do is we're going to make one that doesn't do anything, and we're going to set it to a value. So for example, I could set mine to whatever I want. So I could set it to 70, and now it'd be 70. So the second step is we want to check whether we've got damage. And so the way we can do that is we can go scoreboard objectives add, and when we add a damage objective, instead of doing a dummy, what we can do is we can do minecraft.custom and you can do damage resisted. Now this would work. You wouldn't think this would work if you weren't resisting any damage, but what you can do is you can actually give the player resistance, give them a high level resistance effect, and then all damage they take will come as a resistance. Now there's one caveat, which is that doesn't necessarily work with creeper explosions, but beyond that it should be fine. And there are ways to work around that if you really want this to work. You can do some stuff with armor, but what you can do is calculate how much damage that is and then subtract it from their score. So that's what I'm doing right here. So I'll have the commands down below, but what we're going to do is we're going to, if that damage score, which is the damage resisted, is more than 0, and we're going to divide it by 10. Now I made a scoreboard objective called 10. It's a dummy one. Players get me 10, and it's just set to 10. And that gives us the ability to run this command right here where we can divide by 10 because the damage resisted value comes in as 10 times. It's scaled up because of the way data is handled. And so this gives us the ability to actually calculate the amount of damage, and then when that goes through, we're going to subtract that from our energy value. And then what we'll do is reset that damage value to 0, and that's part 2. So now we've subtracted our damage. So now when I come over here and I summon a zombie and I'm on survival, I take damage like this. The third step is healing, and this works the same way I did it in my Zelda video. I've actually replaced zombie flesh with an item, just like I replaced the... It's going to be the same item, but I just replaced the texture in the resource pack, and I'll give a link to it. But if I come in here and I go to energy, you can now see that there's an energy item, that looks just like the original Metroid. And when I touch it, it gives me 5 energy. And we do that with these 3 commands. So all we have to do is check for whether we've picked it up. So I made this health find objective, and all that is scoreboard objectives add. And what we can do is we can give it a name, health, and then we'll say Minecraft.pickedup, Minecraft.pickedup, and you can specify whichever item you want it to be. In this case, I did rotten flesh. And so we can do that, and so this will track every time we pick one up, and then what we can do is add 5 energy to it, reset the fact that score incremented, and then we'll go and we'll clear any zombie flesh they have. And so you could do that with other items. The 4th step is the most dangerous, and it is death. And that's because if you screw this up, you can end up locked out of your game. So you don't want to do this where when your energy is 0, just kill, because your energy is always going to be 0 when it gets to that point. You need to make sure that when you run this command, if my energy is 0, then we need to make sure that we are going to do something about it. And in this case, I'm conditionally adding a dead tag to myself for the next step, and then this is the key block that you've got to make sure is working correctly, which is setting my energy back to 30. And so I have it unconditional here just to be safe. And so what we're going to do is just if the score is less than or equal to 0, that's what ... 0 means, we're going to set it to 30. And so now, when I come over here and let a zombie kill me, I've set my spawn near here. You can see that I will respawn with 30 energy. Can't you go a little faster? See? And there's one final step, which is when you respawn, we want to make sure you have that resistance on again so it functions properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to give that effect to anybody who's tagged as dead. And then we're immediately going to remove that tag. And so with this final step, you'll be able to respawn and have that resistance so that it works as expected. And so with that, now you could play like it's Metroid. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm going to be doing more of this. I'm hoping for a part 2 where I do energy tanks so that you can actually gain energy tanks just like you do in Metroid. That's all I got for now, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.